Hi, baby dolls. My name is Elisa. If you've never met me, my name is Elisa. If you've never met me, I am so happy that this is your introduction to me. It's very nice to meet you. You guys, we're talking about Euphoria. Okay. I was doing my hair and I decided to rewatch Euphoria 1 and 2 because this took me 17 hours, which means I had to take breaks. This show is not an easy watch. I cried approximately 5 times. There's 16 episodes. The show started 7 years ago. The last season, season 2, came out 4 years ago. Season 3 comes out on Sunday. So today, I want to recap season 1. This is going to be a long one. Let's jump in. Euphoria. I'm drowning in euphoria. If you did not watch Euphoria season 1 and season 2 again, or if you never watched, I feel like this is the sparkiest spark note version that I can give you that is detailed and also made you feel like you watched and also will refresh your memory for those who did watch. Over the past several years, there's been a lot of discourse around Euphoria. A lot of the negative discourse actually made me start to remember Euphoria as if it were a bad show. Euphoria is good as fucking shit. Sorry. I actually want to curse less. Now, there's also a lot of discourse about the fact that they are high schoolers doing these things, and Sam Levinson is writing high schoolers doing these things. And I understand that he had his own struggles with addiction, and Rue, the main character, felt like him in a lot of ways. When Euphoria came out in 2016, I was like in my first year of college. I honestly felt very close to that age. I think they were like 17. Maybe in the first season, they were like 16, 17. I was 18. So I was watching this show and I was understanding that they were in high school. But some way, somehow, I kind of just kept making them be the age that I was. Maybe because they looked like my age. Anyway, I'm not justifying anything. I'm just saying that was something that quickly came back to me when I rewatched the show. I was just like, yes, this is high school. Like, I was literally in high school like 6 months before that show came out. I was an adult, obviously, legally, but I guess that's why I just had those different perceptions about it. I was just like, oh, yeah, that is weird. He's a grown man, but I wasn't a grown man. I was freshly 18. So, season 1, episode 1, pilot. We see little Rue in the womb. She is talking about how life is happy and she had no worries. And then she describes this traumatic experience that happens. She is describing none other than birth, having her little head shoved out of her mom's vaginal canal and shoved through her tiny little uterus. That actually sounds traumatic for everybody involved. Birth is beautiful though. Basically, as soon as she comes out of the womb, she is ridden with anxiety and depression, and the picture of why she started to self-medicate came to be very clear. She was having panic attacks in school. She was anxious about everything. She was depressed about everything. Like, her parents really didn't know how to like make her feel better or make her feel safer in her own body. A lot of kids struggle with this. And then boom, she's using a lot of party favors within the first 5 minutes of the show. And she tells us it is because it halts all of those feelings that she's running away from in her sober state. Now, a lot of people felt away because they do feel like Euphoria could be glamorizing drug use. I actually am going to have to kick back on that. In a euphoric state, sure, maybe it feels like everything is glitter and golden, but also immediately we were getting visuals of like Gia finding her overdose. Anyway, let me keep going into the recap. Actually, let me pause from the recap. I want to issue a warning. There is talks of drug use, there's talks of addiction and sex, there is statutory rape, there is violence, there is addiction. Did I say that? I think I actually may have said that. Okay, boom. Rue's coming back home from rehab. She's hugging her sister, she's waving to her mom. It's a beautiful reunion, but we learn very quickly after those wholesome 2 seconds that she has no intention of staying clean. She immediately finds her bestie and drug dealer Fezco and his little brother Ashtray to go get some drugs, and she doesn't have any money. She asks him to front them. They love her. Well, Fez does. Ashtray loves Fez. I don't even know if love is the right word, but it's love. It's just a different type of love. Fez pays for it later, blah, blah, blah. She's high. She's no longer sober after literally just coming back from rehab. Next, we're introduced to Nate and McKay, two jocks riding around, and Nate is immediately the biggest I've ever seen. Spoiler, Nate has no redeeming qualities. Another spoiler, McKay, respectfully, is a that's the wrong word. And we see a blonde girl riding her bike along the sidewalk. Nate speeds up, drives her off the road. She falls off the bike into somebody's yard. Confirmation bias. Next, we meet Maddie, Kat, and BB. It's definitely giving that scene in Mean Girls where they're all in Regina George's room hanging out after school. Are these mean girls? They're not nice girls, but they're not mean girls. They're just the popular girls. Rue finally gets home. Her mom suspects she's on drugs. She requests an immediate drug test. Rue spazzes on her and jumps out of the window, runs to her childhood best friend Lexi's house, gets her to pee in a little container for her before she even says, "Hi, I'm back in town from rehab, where I was gone for the whole summer." Lexi does it. Lexi's not very happy about it, but Lexi is just trying to be a good friend to her in the best way she knows how. Rue takes the drug test with Lexi's pee. She forces her mom to turn around so she can use Lexi's pee, plays in her mom's face. The drug test comes out clean, and she's back on her bull. Next, Jules is on a dating app. She bikes to a dusty motel, and she's very excited about this time. And McKay throws a party. The party first starts out small. It's Nate, it's the other jocks, and his two little twin brothers who are probably like freshmen in college already, or high school, already vaping. I think he is a freshman in college at this point when we meet him. And McKay expresses interest in Cassie. Cassie is a girl who's popular. She's a cheerleader, and she's a girl that explores sexually and is known for she be having sex. Nate is like, bro, she's like everybody has experienced her before. Like he's one of those. He's one of those. Obviously, McKay feels a way about this. He tries to brush it off as if he doesn't, but he does feel a way about this. And then boom, we jump back to Jules. Now she's in the dusty motel room. She's talking to a man in his late 40s at least. She's sitting on a bed that actually looks like it's made out of cardboard. He has his shirt off. He's trying to seduce her. He asks her how old she is. She says 22. She's not. She's 17. I said before, this man is visually in his 40s at best. And they have very disgusting intercourse. It's so disgusting. Boom. We're back to the party. McKay is talking to Cassie. The party has gotten bigger. He's expressing interest in her, but also he obviously feels a way because she's been talked about. But I think McKay wants to be a good guy. I say all that to say I genuinely do think McKay wants to be a good guy. Their little stairside conversation turns to a full-blown hookup. They're in the room. They're about to get into it. Then he starts manhandling her like she's a wide receiver and he's a linebacker on the other team. And she's just like, what the is going on here? He thinks that's what he's supposed to do because he's listening to Nate. That's over. Now they're making sweet, whatever. Cat is at the party. She's talking to one of the jock friends and the twin brothers. All of them are sitting in the corner getting all hot and bothered together, acting like they're not all virgins. It's really some 16, 17-year-old. But Kat is no longer a virgin after that night, and neither was one of those twins. Rue gets to the party. What is she? Up. Maddie and Nate are on again, off again partners. At this moment, they are off again. Nate is in the kitchen making out with some girl. Maddie finds some random guy. They're kissing and dancing. They get in the pool. She starts heavily kissing him. People start recording them, start a rumor that they're having sex. They're not having sex. They're literally just kissing in the pool. But she obviously wanted an audience, and that guy didn't care either. And then Nate gets upset and he starts throwing a scene in the kitchen of the party. Jules shows up to the party. This is the girl who was on the bicycle that he chased off the road. She shows up to the party. He starts terrorizing her, acting like he's gonna beat her up, very uncomfortable by her existence. She pulls a knife on him. He obviously turns into a little biatch. She starts waving it around and then she cuts her wrist, like not wrist, but like arm. She like cuts her arm and she's like, yeah, I'm crazy. And he's like, you are crazy. And like, yeah, that was pretty much it. Rue sets her eyes on Jules. Rue is immediately in love. Jules is a fairy and she's just Rue's first fairy, if you will. They go to Jules' house and they have a little sleepover. Nate walks home. He walks past the family portrait, and we find out that the person Jules was hooking up with is Nate's father. Next, we are officially introduced to Nate as an 11-year-old boy. Nate goes into his dad's little man cave office corner, whatever. He like gets in, he breaks in. I don't know if he breaks in or if the door was unlocked. Either way, he finds a key. He goes inside of a drawer that is color coded. He figures out what the Morse code is. He puts one of the DVDs in the video player. Basically, that's important to know because he just been calculated. But on these tapes, Nate's dad is having sex with young men and trans women, and Nate is immediately scarred by this. It tweaks something in his brain so significantly that he literally starts weightlifting at age 11. He's very rigorous and strict. Never saw that man laugh one time unless there was an act of violence that happened before or quickly after whatever he was laughing about. And then we get into his first love, Maddie, and everything that he loves about her. He loves that she's a small little dainty little girl. She is a girl. She's like 16, 17, that he feels like he can protect. He loves that she is innocent and a virgin. Spoiler, that girl is not. She just knows what to say to get in that man's pants. She had a backbone, and I think that he liked that about her. Cut to Rue and Jules's sleepover. They wake up and Rue's ass convinces Jules to do some drugs with her. She didn't know what the drug was. It was kind of giving like Molly. And then during that euphoric little glittery moment, cut to Gia slowly walking up to Rue's door because she hears something and she's crying and she's calling Rue's name and Rue is not responding to her. And she sees Rue laid back, choking on her own vomit. And then cut to the paramedics being there, all the neighbors outside, her being wheeled out. Boom, present day. Maddie is at school and everybody is talking about this rumor. And she starts saying, I didn't know what I was doing. I was so blacked out. I was so blacked out. I didn't know what I was doing. Obviously, to avoid taking accountability. Rue's in class now. She's asked to tell everybody what she did with her summer. And that is when we see the full scope of Rue overdosing, her sister finding her. That's when we see how bad it is. We see her waking up in the hospital, not knowing what's going on. Her family, her sister and her mom are asleep next to her. She starts crying. That's when we see little snippets of her in rehab. And this very heavy moment makes her storm off, run to the bathroom, and her best friend who gave her pee is in class. Check. My microphone died. I'm back. Lexi storms to the bathroom to make sure Rue is okay. Rue has chopped something up. She's about to snort it. Lexi runs in and says, "Are you okay?" She blows it. She flushes the pills. And then she rages a little bit on Lexi. She's like, "I already threw it away. What do you want from me?" And Lexi's just like, "I want to check up on you. You're my best friend." She's like, "We're not best friends. Why would we be best friends? We don't even know each other anymore." Cut back to Nate stalking the man Maddie hooked up with in the pool because she said that she was blacked out. Does he believe that? Doubtful. He was doing the same thing that she was doing in her face. So she just did it in his face. Maddie is that type of girl. He just wanted somebody to be mad at and take his anger out on. Now, Rue is in AA, and we learn that she gets hooked to drugs when she's caring for her dad who had cancer. He was heavily medicated, and she was laying next to him, and she thought, hey, let me try one of these too. And he was so high that he didn't realize that she was so high. And that was kind of her introduction to drugs, her dad's prescription medication. But that's a lot of people's introduction to hardcore drug addiction. Next, a video of Kat starts floating around school in doggy. Her face is not in it, the man is not in it, but people are saying, Kat, is that you? She goes to the tween brother who published that video on Pornhub and said, if you do not get this taken down, I will get you charged with child pornography. And he freaked out. He said, what do you want me to do? She said, tell everybody that it was not me and take me shopping. What does he do? Just that. And then Jules meets a guy on a dating app called Shy Guy 118 who alleges he wants something serious, no hookups, and immediately from the bio alone, Jules starts to fall in love because I don't know, somebody looks at you away when you're 16, 17 years old and you see your whole life with them. You see you and them in the bed at 80. You see the notebook ending with that person just because they looked in your eyes. Now that's something I can relate to at that age. I'm an adult now. Rue goes over to her bestie Fezco's house, and we learn that he's taking care of his grandmother who is in a constant coma. His brother Ashtray is there. We already know about Ashtray. And Fez is trying to get Rue to leave because somebody that he does not mess with is on the way to the house. He's in the drug business. He does not like his energy. He does not want Rue to be there. Rue wants drugs. Rue's not leaving until she gets drugs. He shows up. He tells Rue to sit her ass down and keep her ass quiet, which she does, but she learns very quickly that she probably should have left. All is going as fine as it could be when you have a dark cloud demon with negative energy in your home until he looks over at Rue and is like, I've got something tea. Would you want to try it? And she said no. He puts it on a knife. He sticks it in her face and he's like, try it, try it, try it, try it, try it. And she's like, no, 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 no. And then he's like, at this point, about to get violent. He's like, try it. And she's like, okay. She licks it off the knife immediately, slumped. She was wearing pants, her pants are gone. Fez is sitting, he's like looking like something bad is happening. He's obviously not gonna let this man do anything to her. Maybe she wasn't wearing pants. Maybe she was wearing shorts, but she said, where did my pants go? She did say, where did my pants go? And then the guy charges him $600 for letting her have that little lick. Fez takes care of her, but Fez is upset. McKay goes over to Cassie's house to hang out with Cassie. Cassie's mom's on the couch. She's like, that girl, she's a heartbreaker. I wouldn't trust her with my potato. This is obviously making him feel away because one, he heard what those guys said. Now Cassie's mom is kind of alluding to the same thing, if you will. Cassie comes down, they start hanging out. All he wants to do is talk about how he's a freshman bench rider, and all she wants to do is ride his bench. And then he gets mad at her. Boom. Now we're with Nate, and he is in the man's house who he's been stalking, who had a makeout session, an intense one with Maddie in the pool. He finds out the man's name is Tyler. He finds out the man is 22 years old or 21 years old. He's in college. He's like, what are you doing at a high school party? Did you know that this girl that you raped is 17 years old? He's like, no, I didn't know she was 17. She told me that she was 19. He's like, no, she's 17. Like, you could really go down for this. Da da da. He's like, this is what's gonna happen. I am gonna you up, and you're not gonna go to the cops because you're gonna get in a lot more trouble for what you did than I am gonna get in trouble with. Beats this man to a pulp. It's insane. It is scary. It is is horrible. Hops in that man Tyler's shower, cleans his body, and then takes Maddie on a date. That's not funny. He's buying her gifts, he's parading her around. Him beating up this man that he thinks that he saved Maddie from really just did something to him. And then he gets on his phone, he starts texting somebody, and then we learn that he is Shy Guy 118. Episode 3. Now we get some backstory on Kat, who is also 11 years old. A lot of people are really upset about Kat's storyline. I didn't get it too much at first, but once I rewatched, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. It starts off with Kat, 11 years old. She's at school. She's having a very cool life. She has a boyfriend named Daniel who she's in love with. She doesn't understand why he likes her, but he likes her. And she's like, okay, let's ball. She then goes to Jamaica, Sandals, Jamaica, with her family for a family vacation. She quickly learned that she hated the beach, but she even quicker learned that she loves a virgin pina colada. So while she was on her like week or 10-day long vacation, she had 72 virgin pina coladas and she gained 20 pounds. She came back. People were questioning her weight. Maddie, 11-year-old Maddie, said what happened. And then she gets dumped by her boyfriend. And then she's just been big ever since. Where were we going with that? You know what I'm saying? Why did we have to know about the 72 pina coladas? On this show, she's not a binge eater. On this show, I mean, in this season, she was doing some like grapefruit diet or something, but there, like, other than her eating a legit grapefruit, I've never seen her eat anything on this show. So I don't really know what that was about. It's a little bit weird. Anyway, this happens. She's hanging out with the cool girls. She's got a nice little set of nice is the wrong word. Her friends are pretty superficial, but they're consistent. She goes to the internet and she starts writing some fan fiction. She actually is largely credited to have started the Larry Stylinson conspiracy theory. And her love and her admiration basically made her go fanfic viral. She had a lot of followers, everything that she wanted in her real life, she was getting online. And she noticed that she was getting a lot of comments on that video that was posted of her on Pornhub, and that led her to start camming. That I get. The 72 pina coladas. In class, she meets a guy named Ethan, and he was obviously feeling her, but she doesn't see herself like that, so she wasn't picking up on that. That's something that's like very a 16, 17-year-old thing to just not pick up on someone having interest in you because like you're very much so in your head. She started camming. She got into it a little bit more. People started saying, "Can I have pictures of your feet?" She started making a little bit of money, and then people wanted to do private calls with her. This is when she discovered Pay Pigs. This is when she had to go to Fezco and Ashtray, mostly Ashtray, because she was like, how do I get paid through Bitcoin? So Ashtray was basically just like having them send the money to her, and then he was giving it to her in cash for a fee, 20%. But her making some money allowed her to go to the mall, get a new wardrobe, get a little bit more confidence, and experience herself in a new way. Cassie is running off to a college party with McKay. He is trying to get into a frat. He is hanging out with a lot of white boys. That's important to note because being a Black person in predominantly white spaces is an experience. And I kind of wish they dove into that a little bit more. Sam Levinson wrote and directed it, so I don't really think he was thinking that deep on that. But they start hazing him. They're trying to make him binge drink, they're trying to make him binge drink. They make him drink a shot with a fish in it. Cassie jumps in. She drinks the shot with the fish in it too to encourage him. They're loving each other, living, laughing, loving. Whoopsie whoop. After Rue's fentanyl debacle, we see that Fez calls Jules. Jules brings Rue in for the night. When Rue wakes up, Jules says, I am not going to remain friends with somebody who is going to kill themselves. Rue understood. Rue also was in trouble when she got home because she disappeared for 16 hours and her mom was like, where the biggity? Yeah. But on her way home, she got some of Lexi's pee. And then we see her at AA accepting a coin for being 60 days clean. As you know, she was on Fenty last night. Jules is still texting Shy Guy 118 in love now, for real. She's in love, love. And but back to Rue in the AA, we meet Ollie. She meets Ollie. He is also in AA, and Ollie clocks that tea immediately. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, whenever you're ready to stop killing yourself and you like want to actually like be real, call me. Let's eat pancakes together. But as Jules is getting into it with Shy Guy 118, Rue is getting into it with Jules. She almost texts her, I love you. After school, they go back to Jules's house. They're hanging out on the way to school. They're riding bikes. They're doing all the things. And then Rue kisses Jules, and then she spazzes, and then she runs home and she's crying. She runs to Fez's to get drugs. He does not let her in at all. She's banging on the door. She's kicking on the door. She's like, you did this to me. You did this to me. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I was crying. Zendaya, you're goated, girl. She's obviously not going to go talk to Jules. She obviously can't get what she needs from Fez. The only person she can call, well, she could totally call Lexi, but we know how she feels about Lexi. She calls Ali, she gets some pancakes, and she actually gets real. Also, did I mention that Maddie found a bunch of penises on Nate's phone and was really confused? While Kat is at the mall getting her new life in order, Maddie tells Kat that she found penises on Nate's phone. KK, next episode. We meet Jules when she is 11 years old. She is on a road trip with her mom. Her mom doesn't really seem that sweet, to be honest with you. But then she meets a doctor. She talks to this doctor for a whole hour. She realizes she's not even lying. She's just being herself. She finally finds somebody that she feels like she can connect with. And sure, it's a doctor, but that's what he's there for. He is there to connect with her. They then start doing a tour of the facility that they're at. That is when we as an audience learn that she is in an inpatient psychiatric unit. We also find out that she starts cutting herself because she doesn't know herself. It is not explicit that she is transgender. That's probably why she was having a hard time connecting with herself as a child. Present day, Jules and Rue make up. Rue doesn't ever want to talk about it again, whatever. They're now at the town fair. Jules is supposed to meet Shy Guy 118 literally at like 12:30 a.m., midnight a.m. Rue thinks it's a really bad idea. Jules is a fairy. No such thing as a bad idea. They get to the fair together. It's Rue, it's Gia, it's Jules. Rue and Jules are hanging out. Gia's running off to hang out with her friends. They have a curfew. They're supposed to be back at X amount of time. And then we see Nate, his mom, his dad, and his sister at a tent, and they are the 5-year chili bowl family kings and queens. And so they're doing their chili bowl competition again. They're selling their chili and all of the things. Maddie is supposed to see his family there. He doesn't like her outfit. And Jules sees Cal and she tells Rue, that's the man I hooked up with. And Rue says, that is Nate Jacob's dad. And she said, no way. And Rue said, no way. So what does she go do? She goes up to him, buys a bowl of chili. He spazzes, drops the chili. Nate clocks something. Rue clocks it. Cal clocks Rue, clocking them. And then the mom and the brother are so oblivious. They have no idea what's going on. The mom's like passing a napkin, like, oh my God, Cal, how could you? At the tent, before, or maybe it's after, I don't know. Timing happens in a weird way because you kind of just get a little glimpse of everybody's story. But Cassie and McKay go up to the family chili bowl tent. Cal is like, hey McKay, how you doing? He's like, I'm doing good. I'm doing great. He's like, McKay, is this your girlfriend? Or maybe Nate says that, is this your girlfriend? And he's just like, no, 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 we just hang out, like it's just chill. Mind you, he was telling her I love you when he was dropping her back home from going out to the college parties and the things. But anyway, she got mad because he downplayed their relationship in front of everybody. And then he was annoyed that she was mad. She runs off. She finds Maddie. She does her own thing. Obviously, Maddie's annoyed because Nate wants her to change and he grabbed her up in a really crazy way. And Cassie's annoyed because her man just said, I'm not your man. Only behind closed doors will I be your man. So they find Ashtray, they buy Molly, they have a party. So much so that when the family wins the Chili Bowl contest, Maddie goes up to them, claps at them, makes a scene. He's freaking out. He's like, get out of here. His mom says something, literally can't remember. Maddie calls the mom a. Nate grabs her up again, throws her against this RV, strangles this girl. Oh my God. This show is so crazy. She obviously goes home and she cries about that because he did leave a mark, but she was crying because she didn't think she had the power to leave that man. We're going to jump to Rue and Gia. Rue is running all around. She's trying to find Gia. She can't find Gia. Gia's phone isn't on. She finds her like a little bit outside of the fair, hanging out with the fucking McKay twins. And they start saying really crazy things about like, oh my God, you're alive? I thought you OD'd. Oh my God, we're just smoking a little bit of weed, but I know that you can't handle that. She's like, Gia, come on, Gia, come on. Like Gia kind of lets them go a little bit too hard on her sister before she just gets up and leave. And gets up and leave? Gets up and leave? It's like, give me a reason to go a little crazy at the mouth. It's the end of the night. Jules finally meets Shy Guy 118, aka she knows him to be Tyler. Now, he said his name was Tyler. Remember that. He gets out of the car. He walks up next to her at the river. It's Nate. She's like, Nate. And like, he is approaching her like very lovey dovey, very ready to start some secret love affair rendezvous with Jules. And Jules is like, I don't trust you. I don't like you. Like, what are you doing? He then starts kissing her. I totally forgot about this. I totally forgot about the kiss. She lets him kiss her a little bit too long, if you ask me. And then he starts doing this thing that his dad did, where his dad was trying to put his thumb all the way to the back of her throat. And she said, stop. And then he flips a switch. He's like, this is exactly why I don't trust you. You're such a damaged individual. You're such a weirdo. You're going to do everything that I say because you captured and distributed child pornography, even on school grounds, and I have everything. And then he basically stormed off. Ugh. He has literally not a single redeeming quality, and he don't even look good because of how bad he acts. Not bad acting, but just like behavioral. Jules then sneaks into Rue's window and she's like, can I sleep here tonight? And Rue is like, of course. What happened with Tyler? And then she said, he didn't look like his pictures. Oh my God. Kat was at the fair with Ethan. They were really enjoying each other's time. They were talking, they were chatting. She went to get drinks. He went to go do something. This girl came up to her, very pretty girl. Kat staring at them talking. She drops the drinks on the ground, runs off, finds this man who used to be a high school legend. That basically means he peaked in high school and then now he don't be doing nothing. She gives him a little blowy outdoors. But the thing is, the girl that Ethan was talking to works with his sister, and she was asking if his sister could take her shift to remind her because she's trying to go hang out with her boyfriend. He's like, yeah, I will. And Kat obviously doesn't hear this conversation. Okay, moving on. Now we meet Maddie, 11-year-old Maddie. She was in pageants. She was loving her life. She was doing her thing. She was winning the big ones. She was feeling herself until her mom had the news on one day and learned that a pageant coach that she had no idea who this man even was a pedophile and he was getting arrested. And her mom pulled her out of pageants. She never met this man. They probably didn't even live in the same state. And she was forced to stop doing the thing that she loved. I was a gymnast for 10 years. Actually, one man that I did private lessons with, he was convicted of this same thing. Now, my private lessons were very public and nothing ever happened to me. Shout out to my mom for asking questions. I mean, like, when she told me that happened, I was not surprised. I was not surprised. I was older. I was probably like 17, 18. There were like little things that I could see about him where I was just like, not to me though, to other people. Like he'd be giving them a spot in a weird way. He never spotted me. He never touched me. He just told me what to do. But I can see what he was doing with the other younger girls in the leotards. And shout out to you, mom, for not pulling me out of a sport that I loved. But as a parent, I'm sure that that's very scary. Okay, anyway, Maddie's not doing pageants anymore. She doesn't have her after school hobby. So she is forced to go to her mom's job. Her mom is a nail tech, and she learns very quickly that there are the people that sit in the chairs, and then there are the people that sit below the chairs and provide the service. And she realized that she wanted to be the people who sit in the chairs. She didn't even think that they were that confident, but she realized that if she had confidence, she was already exactly where she needed to be. Fast forward, she's going to school the next day. She is wearing a turtleneck. She is wearing a hoodie. She is wearing glasses. It is really hot outside. She's sweating her little booty off. She's not really eating. She's not really drinking. She's in class. She passes out. The nurses go to help her. They find the marks on her neck. They call her parents. They find out that Nate did it. I don't know if she explicitly said that Nate did it, but she was just like, he loves me, he loves me. Her mom's like, he don't love you, he don't love you. The dad is literally sitting in the corner not saying anything because her dad always sits in the corner not says anything. Nate's parents are called. He is pulled into a classroom. He doesn't admit to doing anything at all, but then they like go to the police station. She's crying. They're taking photos. Nate is not admitting to anything. His dad is sitting next to him, standing firm in his conviction that I think Cal knows that his son is not innocent, especially after everybody saw how he manhandled her, like by grabbing her arm at the chili bowl winning situation at the state fair. So that already just made him suspect number one. Rue continues to fall for Jules. Her mom wants to meet Jules and they continue spending time. Rue is telling everybody who will listen about Jules. She's so in love with Jules, and she tells Ali, and Ali is like, you are newly clean. You're in high school. This isn't going to last. I hate to burst your bubble, but focus on you. Rue doesn't like that. But she decides to become clean with the AA group and tell her that she's been lying about the pins that she's collecting. But she is for real, 13 days clean. Either way, she hits up Lexi to be a better friend. They hang out. It's very wholesome. Remember how I told you that Cassie was like partying and she was having a lot of fun? She was riding this like carousel and she met a guy, basically this guy Dylan. He's just stalking her at this point. He wants her bad. He wants her so bad. He will not leave her alone. She still has kind of a boyfriend. She's allowing it to go on because she doesn't really have a boyfriend. He's saying what he thinks he has to say to get what he wants out of her, and she's like, she's allowing him to, talk to her, to flirt with her. She's flirting back. As a woman, I can tell that he's not as successful in his pursuit as he thinks he is. He can't tell that though. Kat is finally faced with Ethan again in class. He's just like, oh my God, you disappeared. Where did you go? Boom. She's cold with him. She's mad with him. She's upset with him. And she just continues to explore sexually in parking lots and in things. Whoop de whoop. Again, this is like what I don't like. Like, I can understand like wanting to get attention and validation from other people, but like they kind of just keep having Kat just hooking up with these people, no context, and like doing sex work, no context. Like, give this girl a little bit more context since you want everybody to have some damn context. Why is her context that she drank 72 virgin pina coladas? Next, we see Cal call up another random back in that dusty motel. He's trying to have a heart to heart with this man, basically express that like he's feeling bad about being a bad dad. He's a present father, but being a present father doesn't actually mean you're a good father. It doesn't mean your kids like you, and his kid does not like him. Now we meet McKay at 11 years old. He's a baby athlete. You know what I'm saying? His father poured time and effort into him and his craft of football. McKay was raised on affirmations in the morning, middle of the day, for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. And he also was raised getting a lot of praise from a lot of people around him. He was raised being the best but he gets to college and he realizes that everybody who's in that place that he's at got there because they were also the best. And he was the best, but not the best of the best. And he is weighing his options. He's realizing that going to the league is probably not in his future. I want to give him some kudos because a lot of people don't really figure this out until, they don't make it into the combine or something. You know what I'm saying? Like he knew early on. Shout out to him. Anyways, he picks Cassie up for a Halloween party at school. He doesn't like what she's wearing. She's Alabama Worley. They leave the house. Before they get to the party, she makes him change into his sweaty, dusty bench riding jersey and just be a wag. She obviously does it. She's like, whatever about it. They go back to his dorm. They're hooking up. And then the frat boys pop up with cameras and in ski masks. They yank him off of her. They rape him on the floor on camera in front of his girlfriend. That was really sad. He was in the bathroom shaken up. I don't know, that was really crazy. And then he came out of the bathroom and she's just like, we can go to bed. And he's like, well, why would you want to go to bed? And then in the same way they were aggressive with him, obviously it's not the same way because they literally raped him. Or if it was not rape, it was certainly assault and harassment. To overcompensate for him just feeling like he was taken advantage of, he just decided to treat her as if he was taking advantage of her in their intercourse. But then she went to the bathroom, she cleaned herself up, and she was crying. So basically, those emotions were still transferred over to her from him because he wasn't addressing that, especially not in front of her. It's the next day. They're at Carousel Boy Dylan's house. He's having a Halloween party. She's back at the Halloween party. She's in the original outfit. She asked the girls, is this too much? None of them say that's too much because the girls that get it, get it. Lexi's Bob Ross. Jules is an angel. And Rue, Edward Cullen, I don't know. So Nate's temporarily expelled. Nate's family tries to go out to dinner to a local business. They say, hey, man, we're not letting you guys in here. Everybody's looking weird. Like nobody kind of feels safe with what your son did in this business. And then Cal is like, he was innocent. If that's how you want to go about it that way. Like, I'm getting my leg back, basically. And Maddie is screaming, crying, throwing up that Nate won't talk to her and that she hasn't seen Nate and that her friends have lives outside of her. And she is just sad and crying and saying that he's innocent, even though he literally strangled her. Abusive relationships are definitely tough, especially when it's like mental, emotional, physical. That is really hard to break out of. At the end of this episode, McKay and Cassie are hanging out again. They're cuddled up again. Nate texts Maddie and says, meet me here. And every Friday for several Fridays, they are meeting up at this dusty hotel. They're acting the exact same way. There's obviously not more love. There's definitely more toxicity. Kat and Ethan finally hook up, but Ethan is a baby hooker upper. So he has to go get himself back together. And while he's getting himself back together, she dips out on him. G is hanging out with the McKay brother. Rue snatches him up and says, you better treat her right. I swear I will you up if you don't. And Jules gets very drunk. She's being very avoidant. Lexi and Rue are ready to leave. Jules says no. Rue says, I can't leave her. Jules pulls Rue in the pool with all of her clothes on, kisses her underwater, and Rue is like, damn. I didn't like that. That didn't feel good. I need to go. I need to go home, actually. It was in that moment she was like, Jules is on some bull. Dylan gets Cassie alone. Cassie is kissing him. He wants to do more. She doesn't want to do more. She's like, I kind of have somebody that I'm doing that with already. And then he's 180. He's like, you slut, you're a. And at that time, McKay shows up to the party. He feels bad for what happens with Cassie the night before. Lexi notices that he's around. Lexi also knows that Cassie is with Dylan. And before he like finds them in a room, she's like, oh my God, McKay, what are you doing here? And he goes, oh my God, are you Bob Ross? She's like, yeah, I'm Bob Ross. Me editing, I forgot to mention, Cassie is using the bathroom and she looks at her tampons and she realizes she doesn't have to use them because her period is MIA. Okay, now Nate shows up to Tyler's house, blackmails him into going to the police station, saying that he strangled Maddie, gets Maddie to do the same thing, and then blackmails Jules into doing the same thing. And I'm sure that he made Shy Guy 118 and said his name was Tyler for the reason of just having some collateral to take him down on. Now Nate's name is clear. Him and Maddie are at the party. They're booed up. They're making out on the counter. Next, let's meet baby Cassie and baby Lexi. They're about 11. Lexi's probably 10 though. She's like a year younger. Their younger years started out fine. Cassie was doing figure skating, but her dad couldn't afford the lesson, so he stopped encouraging her to be a figure skater. And that little section of her life was put away. That's probably why her and Maddie became friends, because they could really relate on that level. Their parents were married. Her dad was very good looking. Her mom had some jealousy around that, mostly in part because the dad was just not having good boundaries. And I would be upset too. Well, that beauty leapt on to Cassie, and Cassie started getting treated differently because of her looks from especially her male counterparts. Her dad always struggled to find a job. Her mom started to become more carefree. They started fighting about things like that. Her dad gets upset, he leaves, and then Cassie finds out at school that it's because her mom cheated. Now, that was never really confirmed, but I guess it was just confirmed in her mind. That's the POV that we got. And then her dad was working one day. He was coming home very late from work. He swerves into the other side of the road, hits a truck head on. He's in the ICU for 23 days, and he is prescribed fentanyl, promethazine, lorazepam. Yeah, he also became an addict. They would see him once a week. They would see him every other week. Then they wouldn't even see him once a month. And then they randomly never saw him again until Cassie got a text from her dad from a random number. He asked to come pick some things up. She sees that he has some little pokey pokes on his arm and he looks like a zombie. And she goes in the house and he's stealing their fine china. He said, "I'll see you later," and she never saw him again. She then dove into relationships very hard, and Rue is obviously depressed because of her situation with Jules again. When I watched this show the first time, I thought there was more love there, but I was literally like a year older than them, so that's probably why I thought that. She's also trying to solve the crime that is Jules being in love with Nate Jacobs. She couldn't explain it, but she knew that Jules was in love with Nate Jacobs. Jules was not saying that she was being blackmailed, so she was obviously feeling weird and feeling away. And I think that escapism was definitely a lot dealing with that more so than anything having to do with Rue. But obviously, she didn't tell Rue that. But it made her depressed. For a little stint in the episode, Jules texts Rue, "Hey, I'm going out of town. I'm going to hang out with some old friends." And while she's out of town and she's hanging out with these old friends, she seems like she's actually free of the dark cloud that hang over her that is called Nate Jacobs. She also meets a friend's friend and she hooks up with that friend. And while she's hooking up with that friend and also like rolling on drugs, she is kind of picturing the friend to be Nate Jacobs. Either way, her visit prompts Rue to binge Love Island and call her bestie Fez, not for drugs, because she's going to tell anybody about this conspiracy theory who will listen to her. But she does ask Fez if he can scare off Nate Jacobs with his gun. He's like, "Rue, what the fuck? Why did I do that? That's so weird. Why am I just flashing a gun at people just because you don't like them?" But also, he knows Nate Jacobs is not an innocent boy. He acts like he's not going to listen, but he does listen. Mouse, Mr. Fenty Man, is coming back again. And he said, "Rue, you better stay in this room. I'm not playing with you." And she's like, "I can't stay in here. I can't stay in here." He's like, "Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And you will." And then, the prescription medication started talking to her. So she snuck out. She passed Mouse and all of them before they could realize that she was there. And then she realized that she really is still depressed. She was having a hard time peeing. She was having flu-like symptoms. It was hard for her. Cassie tells McKay that she is pregnant. McKay is a man who does not even like where he is in life. So obviously he didn't like that, but also he doesn't even want to claim her. So obviously he didn't like that she was pregnant. He's like, girl, you're going to be a great mother one day. One day. She's kind of sad, but then they cuddle up. We then learn that Kat also hooked up with somebody else at the Halloween party. Not much context behind it. She just did it. As said, Fez does threaten Nate, and when Nate goes to the gas station, Fez says, leave Rue and Jules alone or I will kill you. Nate is obviously shaken in his berries, but he doesn't act like it. Season finale. Rue goes to the hospital because of her flu-like symptoms. She is in the hospital. She feels amazing, not because she's on drugs, just because they feed her, they take care of her. She doesn't have to wear pants. She walks around as she pleases. She doesn't even have to wear shoes. She is happy. She does say, I'm experiencing a little bit of pain though. Nurse, can I please have something for that? And then the nurse is like, oh wait, actually, would you like some Tylenol? She was like, sure, we'll take the Tylenol. This week at school seems to be homecoming game, homecoming dance. Jules and Rue finally rekindle once Jules is back from her excursion. And yes, you know, she was very quick to tell Rue that she hooked up with someone. I think that Jules honestly like to play. Nate and Maddie broke up again. It was actually, though, really quite wild. She was asking him questions about his sexuality. She was trying to get him to open up about it, and he strangled her again a little less. Cal was like, Maddie, you seem like a sweet girl, but whatever's going on between you and Nate is not sustainable. And she said, everyone in this family is so weird. And then she left the house. But then we learn Nate took Jules's tape and Maddie stole it from his house. And Maddie watched the tape of Cal doing what he did with Jules. She was floored. Cassie tells her mom and her sister that she's pregnant. They take her to get an abortion. It's hard to watch. It seems like it's hard on her body, but she had a really great support system with her. So that was really lovely to see. She got that taken care of. She got her life back. She got her groove back. Rue and Jules are at the dance. Rue said, Jules, why don't we just get out of here? Why don't we just leave? And Jules is like, let's go. Let's get a ticket today. Let's get out of here. And Rue's kind of like, oh, I was just talking. Like I thought we were just having a little fun. Like I thought we were just joking. And she's like, no, I want to leave right now. Rue's like, oh, my medication. I have to go get my medication. She's like, we'll get you new medication. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. They're about to get on the train. Rue decides to not get on the train. Jules leaves her because Jules is Jules. And then we see that Rue is in a church for the AA meeting. Her mom gives a beautiful speech talking about her life. There's a beautiful montage. And it also shows the not so beautiful parts of life and addiction. And then we get into the infamous season finale music video. Yeah. Damn. I need a quick snack break. Okay, that is all for this video. Come back tomorrow. The entire season 2 recap of Euphoria will be out. I have a lot of work to do, but you know what? I'm more than happy to get it done for you. Because on Sunday, Euphoria season 3 comes out, and we all need to be up to date, you know?